Today, Jefferson County Public Schools and districts across the state have received a new baseline for how we will measure academic achievement. We realize that these new and more rigorous standards would challenge our students and would raise the bar for what they are expected to know and be able to do. But we embrace this new model because it is the right thing to do, and it will help ensure that all students graduate from high school, career, and college ready. In May, the Jefferson County Board of Education adopted a new strategic plan, Vision 2015. This plan is the roadmap our board, Dr. Hargens, and her leadership team are using to guide the work of this district. Over the next several weeks, as the staff continues the detailed process of fully reviewing the results, this board is committed to always doing what is right for students and for ensuring that all students graduate prepared to reach their full potential and contribute to society throughout life. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce our superintendent, who has a strong background in academics, achievement, and cares for all of our students. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Donna Hargens and her team that will share with you the results. Dr. Hargens.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Porter, and thank you all for being here. And we appreciate the community members that are here as well. So what we want to do today, our outcomes are, we want to tell you what our results were and talk you through the accountability model. But more important than that, we want to bridge you to the strategic plan that's been in place and to what we actually have in place in our schools to address the results. I want to acknowledge the wonderful students in the back of the room, the 5th graders from McFerrin Academy. So thank you for being here. They are actually, they are great representatives of the 101,000 students we have in Jefferson County, but they also have an interest in broadcasting and media. So we appreciate that you're here, and we appreciate the hard work that you put in every day. So let's just go through the accountability model first. The accountability model really has 5 parts in it, as you know. For an elementary school, that's 3 parts. So let's just go through the 5 parts. For an elementary school, we always look at achievement. Our students, have they reached proficiency or not? But we also look at gap. And in the new accountability model, gap means every student that falls in a gap group counts once. And are they proficient or not? So schools acquired and the district acquired points for achievement, points for gap, but also what's really important in this accountability model is, are students growing academically? That means every student, if they're proficient or distinguished or not, are they growing academically? So this part of the pie, if you will, looks at if students have moved more than students like them. Comparable students in the state, after a year's worth of learning and teaching, are they better than or as good as comparable students? So you could get 100 points. The district got a score of 0 to 100, so it was 100 points. So you can see from the elementary, 30, 30, and 40 are the ways those points are weighted. So let's look at how our elementary schools did. So those are the foundational pieces. You can see that our elementary schools had a total weighted score of 53.2 out of a possible 100 points. And what you can also do is see in achievement, they had 18.4 points, in gap 10.1, and in growth 24.7. And what we look at is relative to how many points they could have, what you can see is that we had more than half the points in achievement and growth, and we had about 1/3 of the points in gap. So every level, elementary, middle, and high, has those 3 components. So if you look at the middle school, you again see achievement, gap, growth, but you add college and career readiness because our 8th grade students take the Explore test. But now you can see that it's weighted differently. So their score of 100 points has 4 different pieces with 28, 28, 28, and 16 in college and career readiness possible points. So how did our middle schools do? They received a total score of 46.3 out of 100 points. And you can see that the actual individual points, 15.9 out of 28 in achievement, 8.2 out of 28 in gap, 16.4 out of 28 in growth, and 5.8 out of 16 in college and career readiness. Now, high schools have all 5 pieces of the accountability model. They have achievement, gap, growth, college and career readiness, but they also have graduation rate. So each piece of the accountability model counts as a 5th, or each piece could have been 20 points. So how did our high schools do? Our high schools received a total score of 52.9. For achievement, 11.4, or over half of the possible 20 points. For gap, 6.1 out of a possible 20 points. For growth, 12.3 out of a possible 20. College and career readiness, 9.5. And graduation rate, 13.6, and over half of the possible 20 points. So our high schools had all 5 pieces of the accountability model. What this does is give our schools great information about different measures of how they're doing. In the old system, remember, we concentrated on proficient. And in the old system, there were gap groups and students counted more than once. So in the gap group now, students count once, which makes a lot of sense. So if you look at the district, so we've gone elementary, middle, and high. The district, of course, has all 5 pieces of the accountability model. But as you can see on the district level, it includes elementary, middle, and high, but it includes different weights. So you can see here what the weights were for that information there. But you have achievement, gap, growth, college and career readiness, and graduation rate. The same 5 pieces. So how did the district do? And as was reported, we got 50.8 points out of a possible 100. In achievement, over half of the points, 8.1 out of 26 in gap, 17.8 out of 29 in growth, and then college and career readiness, 5.1, little less than half, and graduation rate, 4.5 out of a possible 7 points, for again, a total score of 50.8. What you'll see is that, so we could take an individual school, any school, and there is data about how many points they got in each piece of the accountability model. Then what the state did was rank all of the schools based on those scores. And they transferred that to a percentile rank. So when you hear that Jefferson County Public Schools had a total score of 50.8, rank all of the districts in Kentucky, and we were at the 23rd percentile. So we did better than 23% of the districts in Kentucky. So these are the results, and this is an important day because our schools have the results to work with. But that isn't where it's all beginning. This isn't now where we begin to plan. As Ms. Porter said, our Board of Education in May approved a strategic plan. The strategic plan positions ourselves and our resources to make sure that we're ready and have this data inform what we do. So the dashboard in the strategic plan, actually the first 5 components are the components of the accountability model. So when you see this dashboard, the first 3 parts, achievement, gap, and growth, are the baseline. So there's nothing to compare it with because it's a new baseline. So what we've done, based on the data, is put the first point on the chart of how many points we received in each of those 3 areas. Now, what we do know is that we've always measured college and career readiness the same way. Jefferson County, and not last year, but the year before, had 36% of our students college and career ready. That has gone up to 47%. And we're certainly proud that that's gone up to 47%, but we know that that's not where we stop and that's not where we're satisfied. We want 100% of our students to be college and career ready. But there is an increase there. You know that graduation rate was reported for the class of 2011 not the class that just graduated, which is the class of 2012, but 2011, and we went from 69% to 68%. And that data, again, is a year old. So the strategic plan is built around the results and the accountability model. Parents will receive an individual report about their child in terms of where they were based on reading and math and the new Common Core standards. So they're going to receive a report. As soon as we get the reports, we will mail them home. So parents should expect to see this kind of report. So what parents might see is that their student was proficient in the old system with a lower standard or a lower bar and might not be proficient on the new standard. But what it does is tell us exactly what the student needs to work on to get better, to be on the path toward college and career readiness. This is really rungs on a ladder to make sure that all of our students are college and career ready. Now, we're fortunate, as I said, to have been working with the board's direction at a strategic plan and also to put people in place and systems and structures in place to be able to help students who need extra time and support around learning. So Dr. Dewey Hensley is our Chief Academic Officer. What Dr. Hensley is going to do is talk about how what we're calling big rocks in the strategic plan that are in place in our schools and the systems that are in place in our schools. And he's also going to talk about what we're partnering with the community to establish, which are learning places where everyone learns, where all students have extra time and support around learning. So I will turn it over now from where we are with the results, but more importantly, what we're positioned to do with the results right now. So Dr. Hensley.
Good morning, everyone. Part of our large challenge has been to create, we anticipated many of these scores. Consequently, we started back in April to restructure in a way that would lead us toward the right kind of structure to improve achievement across the board. We've looked at making schools the center of the universe. We've looked at ways that we could reallocate resources, move them inside schools so we could have a greater impact on the most important thing and the most important people who are sitting in the back of the room. We've worked to create 6 academic achievement areas to move our resources closer into these geographic regions where assistant superintendents are working directly inside schools. We've created some positions and removed some positions and reallocated people and resources so that we're able to support schools and empower schools to really focus on achievement. Now, one of the things that we continue to say is, and I have a sign in my office that I tell everyone about, where I say, it's the achievement gap, stupid. To remind myself every day when we walk into our schools, and I walk into my office, that our real challenge is to take kids who traditionally haven't done very well in our system and provide an encircling of them to support them and move those students who are on the other side of the achievement gap to proficiency, to challenge them in the right way, to raise the expectations in the right way, but also build the right ladder, the right scaffolding that leads them to achieve those higher expectations. So my team has put together what we call the Big Rocks, a comprehensive plan that involves changing academic performance inside schools. We're not allowing our work in the district to simply be outside of schools. Anything we do, we have to be able to follow the footprints directly into the classroom, directly onto the desk of the student. And we're working with everything we have to build plans strategically that make that happen. So 4 large areas that we are truly working on is, first, we are doing a very research-based practice building inside our schools professional learning communities. The real thing that turns schools around more than anything else is cohorts of teachers working together. Great principal leadership understands that they need to move cohorts of teachers, groups of teachers working together at the table every single day, looking at, monitoring, and adjusting based on the individual needs of kids. So this professional learning community structure is really all across our district, where we're empowering schools to create these cohorts to move kids forward. A second strategy that we're looking at is that idea of fully resourced schools, because we know that the Common Core standards are a great challenge. One study by ACT showed that the reading expectations for kids at 12th grade, when compared to the reading expectations at the freshman year in college, there was a 4-year difference in difficulty. Consequently, we could have students in the past who were proficient at 12th grade who were in effect expected in a matter of months to read at a 4-year higher grade level. So the Common Core has raised the standard so that whenever a student meets the needs of the Common Core, they are truly college ready. They are truly career ready. It's not just a title they receive of proficiency, they are actually proficient. They can do the work. So we know that we have had to move resources in the schools to help with professional development so that teachers understand the Common Core. Right now it's just reading and math, but we know those same expectations are coming soon in science and social studies. So we're being proactive and we're working on creating that fully resourced school focused on the Common Core standards and helping teachers to see exactly what that standard is. A third thing we're working on is we've collaborated with our teachers union and other great educators across our district to look at what the effective strategies are. We pulled together a great deal of research to say what strategies actually work in classrooms to help teachers change the trajectory of kids' lives. So we have worked on pulling together a set of effective strategies that will help to guide our professional development over all the way into next summer and beyond, as we give all teachers these tools on their tool belt. And finally, we're working on something called deep implementation planning processes. And what that is, I call it, we name it and we claim it. We look at our kids, we look at where we have the achievement gap, we own that. We're accountable for those students, and we adjust what we do to move those students forward. And it can't just be a plan that sits on someone's desk in a binder. We have to see the evidence of it inside schools. We have to see it in classrooms at those PLC meetings as a school actually implements the plan and makes it all the way to the desk of the student. So that planning process will help our principals, our instructional leadership teams, our school-based decision-making councils, everyone involved to see exactly what the strategies are they're going to use and have fidelity to those strategies and monitor them along the way. And finally, we recognize for those 4 big rocks to actually work, we have reshaped our academic supports. Those are all academic achievement focused, but we recognize that we had to not only move resource teachers and other people into schools and really focus on the classroom and the kid, we have to provide supports. So we have created something called student response teams across our entire district, where one phone call gets a school the support it needs around one child. So if one student is having great difficulty, we have reallocated all of our resources so one phone call can bring a team inside a school to help when there's a great need for a family or a child. And that's taken a great deal of restructuring. It's asked a lot of people in Jefferson County to take a different perspective on their work. But right now, we're already seeing drops in suspensions. We have plenty of anecdotal evidence that shows that we have been able to help children and families immediately instead of it taking a long period of time to do that. And these SRTs, student response teams, encircle the child in the school. There's a team inside each academic area. And at the district level, we have a student response team that looks at data each week on suspensions, on where there are difficulties in the district. And that team is able to send in groups to help, particularly looking at disproportionality of suspensions and alternative school placements. If we have a group of students, a student group that is disproportionately affected inside a school or inside a region, we respond to that to see exactly what's going on, to ensure that when we make those kinds of placements, they are done very intentionally, they are done with a lot of data and a lot of thoughtfulness behind that. So this strategy, and inside schools, we've empowered schools to create their plan, and we're providing them support and analyzing those plans. And a group of people that are really powerful are our assistant superintendents. They work as a team, even though each of them is in charge of one of the achievement areas. They work as a team together in order to change our entire district. For the first time in JCPS history, those people are inside schools every single day, working with principals, working with professional learning communities to change the academic achievement culture of those schools. Another thing that we're doing, we know that we have to really look at our needy kids that are struggling academically. And for all of our students, we have to extend their learning, we have to accelerate their learning, and we have to enhance their learning. So we enhance it through all of these ways. We accelerate it through our intervention programs within the school, but we're looking at extending it by creating partnerships inside our communities where we give kids opportunities after school to extend their learning. We've put in a lot of locations thanks to community partnerships and people in our community that are stepping forward to say, we want to help with achievement. We want to get kids college and career ready. We've created sites where students can go to after school to work in a digital learning environment on their math and reading and content areas as identified for that student. So our partners have opened their doors, and we're working directly with them to create a bridge for kids as they leave our schools and go into their community so they can continue the learning. The learning is extended. That has the greatest impact on our neediest kids. Our neediest kids need to learn 365 days a year, not 175. So we're trying to extend with our partnerships so that they get the opportunity to learn more. We're also doing summer boost programs that will work on summers, mitigating or changing summer regression, where many kids go backwards during the summer. We're being very strategic in the ways that we can move them forward in the summer and mitigate that summer learning loss. And in the classrooms, we're, of course, working on identifying groups of kids, cohorts of kids that need extra help. And we're trying to connect them with a thing we're calling Louisville Linked. We're trying to do a better job of connecting groups of students with external organizations and services that will help them and their families. And we're putting a lot of effort into that. Thank you. Would you like to introduce Mr. Karam? Thank you.
And as you can tell, the results were released at midnight. We didn't create all of this since midnight. This is work that has been going on for over a year, and we're appreciative of all the staff members and Dr. Hensley's team. But you know, we have great leaders in Jefferson County and great leaders in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, because Kentucky is leading and saying that we're going to lead the nation in making sure that our students are college and career ready. So we're fortunate to have with us the chair of the State Board of Education, David Karam.
Just as Diane did in introducing some folks that she works with, I want to introduce Mary Gwen Wheeler, who also serves on the State Board of Education with me. Actually, Mary Gwen is the representative from Jefferson County, and my position is an at-large position. I've been involved with public education now either in the legislature or at the State Board for over 30 years. And it's significant in my perspective that there have been two landmarks that deserve incredible consideration. The first was in 1990, the adoption of the Kentucky Education Reform. And people need to reflect that prior to Kentucky Education Reform, the Commonwealth was literally at the bottom of the educational stature in the United States. And fortunately, through the efforts of Kentucky Education Reform, we were elevated to closer to the middle. And that deserves reflection. From my perspective, and I think from the perspective of the State Board of Education, this is the next landmark. This is the piece that will take us even further on the important journey of making sure that every child is college and career ready. It's worth also reflecting that during education reform, that effort was sustained because the business community jumped in and became enormously involved in sustaining the efforts. It's worth reminding folks that UPS, Ashland Oil, and Humana created something called the Partnership for School Reform that helped communicate to the public the importance of CARE. Here we are today with exactly the same thing happening. It's unprecedented in my recollection of how the elected officials, how the education officials, and how the business community have come together. Statewide, the Kentucky Chamber has made this a really critical issue as far as sustaining the efforts. And the results are that we are exactly where we expected. In fact, maybe slightly better. But one of the things that I think is important to remember is that prior to the waiver that Commissioner Holliday so importantly got for the state of Kentucky, we were with No Child Left Behind, which characterized schools in a very unfortunate way, frankly. And now we are in a continuous improvement model. And I think that, as Dr. Hargens has explained and as Dewey has explained, this really gives us an opportunity to dig deeper and deeper and deeper to understand how we can bring the kids forward and how we can focus on the areas that we need to be focusing on. Simply to say that a school is a failure serves no purpose from the perspective of the state board and from the perspective of the commissioner. And so this model, which lets us dig into each individual school, find out what works in schools. And I want to tell you that across the state, and Mary Gwynn would join with me in saying, across the state there are amazing models in existence today that are making the kind of progress you want to see. So this data will help every school, if done properly, move forward. And so it's, I think, the second landmark in my years of service to see that we're here today. And I applaud the business community, and I applaud the political community and the education community. I applaud our governor, who has taken this quite seriously. The First Lady has joined significantly in this effort. And so it's a great day to start over and to work to improve what's the most important natural resource we have in the state of Kentucky, and that is our children. I want to also introduce Jim Allen, who's the chair of the Jefferson County Education Foundation, and who is a great business leader in this community. Jim.
Good morning. Thank you, Senator Karam. Today, Jefferson County Public Schools and our community have a new baseline for measuring the progress of our students. It is clear that much is still needed to ensure that all students graduate career and college ready. But what is also clear is that if we as a community are going to achieve the results to which we all aspire, then we will all have to play a role to make certain that we enjoy that success. The Jefferson County Board of Education, Dr. Hargens, and her leadership team have laid the foundation and have mapped out a clear path forward. Now our community, parents, business leaders, and elected officials must take the next step and support the district so that we can begin to bring about the change and progress that we all want. If our community and state want to have the well-prepared workforce that we all need to grow and prosper, then we must rally behind these more rigorous standards and commit to the long-term success of our students. Remember, the goal is to have all students graduate career and college ready. This is an ambitious goal that will not occur overnight. That is why I and a large and growing number of business and civic leaders have pledged to support these more challenging standards, and why we are pleased to stand with JCPS and the other districts across the Commonwealth as we work together to raise the level of academic achievement for all students. Thank you very much.
And as everybody has indicated, this is really a we thing. This is going to take the entire Commonwealth. This is going to take the entire community. And we appreciate so much the support of this community and the leaders that we have in this community. So at this time, we will take any questions. We have some time for questions.
Dr. Huggins, if you would, talk to parents who will look at these results and be discouraged, perhaps alarmed at the school system, and assure them, you've laid a lot out here, but assure them comprehensively that you're taking steps to fix this problem.
What I would say to parents is, it's important to know accurate information about where your child stands on this journey to being college and career ready and to be truly ready. As a parent, you want your student to be able to read to learn, to be able to read complex text. You want them to be able to do math well, and you want them to be able to apply math to the real world. You want that for your child. You know that that's going to make them competitive as they grow older. So this is important information. So as a parent, I would suggest that you embrace the information, contact the school, go on the website, raisethebarlouisville.org, look at the fabulous work done by the National PTA and our District 15th PTA, and look at how you can help your child, but connect with the school, because as Dr. Hensley said, all of our students can do this. It's about creating a plan and a path where they have the extra time and support to do it. So as a parent, I would want to know the reality of where my child stands so that I can make sure that they're college and career ready.
Who's a member of the student response team? How many people are involved in that, and what kind of staff members are involved in that?
Well, and I'll let Dr. Hensley give the specifics.
Presently, we have approximately 200 people who are involved in student response teams. It includes everyone from, it's much more than that because it's inside the school is one layer, and each achievement area is another layer, and then at the district level. So inside the school, it's principals, counselors, family resource center coordinators, coaches, all kinds of people that help to respond to the needs of individual kids. At the achievement area level, we're looking at social workers, you have behavior experts, you have psychologists, special education teachers, a large group of people that fill a lot of roles that are a part of that. And at the district level, we have our major leadership in all of those areas. It's led by Carol Montgomery, one of our assistant superintendents, who looks at our Family Resource Center structure. It utilizes all of our social workers, all of our counselors, psychologists, family resource centers, and the leadership of all those groups sit on the district level.
How often do they call?
They can be called at any time. We're looking at over 60 calls that we've responded to during this school year. Many of them are not just one-time calls. They will go into a place and work for a couple of weeks in order to help that school with their climate, or if an individual family has great need, we've connected families to social services. We've responded to situational crises that have happened with different families. It's also a mechanism we're using to respond to bullying incidents. So our SRT, a student response team, when there's bullying in a school, will actually go in and use a myriad of different strategies, including restorative practices, to come to the table, meet with families, meet with kids, and ensure that the student who is being bullied is protected and in a safe and orderly environment, that the kids that are in part of the bullying, that they are responded to and they understand the expectation. We try to figure out what's leading to that problem.
Of course, the point is intervene as soon as there's an issue. When you know someone doesn't know it academically, you intervene right then and provide interventions. When there's a behavioral issue or some kind of an issue and they need support, you intervene as quickly as possible. And that's the whole gist of the student response teams. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Do you worry that people outside the school system, particularly parents, are going to have a tough time interpreting this information? And if so, how do you do it?
Well, when they get the actual report, remember it's going to look like this. It'll be mailed to their home. Certainly schools will be able to interpret that, but we're also going to have a hotline for parents that they can call, and there will be knowledgeable people on the end of a phone bank to just talk them through what it means. And then again, the question is, if it's not what you wanted, and the other thing I want to mention, because sometimes it gets lost, we have thousands of kids that met the proficient and distinguished standard. So even with the higher standard, we have thousands of kids that have been very, very successful. But if your child isn't one of those students, what you need to do is make sure that there is a plan in place for extra time and support. But we will have information available and a hotline available to help anybody interpret that, and to also make sure they know what's available in the school, what they know is available on the website, but also these wonderful learning places that the community has embraced around the community.
I understand comparisons are difficult to make under the model year on year, but one of the few comparisons you can make out of these numbers is that 20-30 percentile number when you compare JCPS to other districts. How do you explain that to parents who might be concerned about that?
Well, what I would do, actually, I would also compare it to where we were in the previous system when you ranked all the districts in Kentucky. And we were at the 9th percentile. So we're now at the 23rd percentile. But again, parents should look at how their individual student is doing. So just because a school is in the needs improvement category doesn't mean that my child isn't proficient or distinguished, or that there aren't many successful students there. So I would look at the individual student level. How is my child doing, and do they have the supports in place at the school that they're at?
What about those who look at this and say, we need, and you talked about reallocation of resources, something dramatic, experimenting, and perhaps Mr. Karen can address this as well, with things like charter schools and things like that, something dramatic that will really shake up what we're trying to do in Jefferson County?
Well, there's actually, we've done, success looks like when we've looked at every dollar that we spent on this side and make sure that it's touching the desk of students, and that it's, and the schools are certainly the center of the universe, so that we're doing that. There is legislation called Districts of Innovation, where we are working with a team of community members. We'll assemble a team of community members and say, what does innovation look like? How do we think outside the box within the public school system? I actually asked, I have a superintendent's advisory committee. I asked the students, I gave them an assignment. If you could think outside the box and redesign something innovative, what would you do? So they're bringing back their ideas. So there is within current legislation and current parameters the ability to do exactly what you said, innovate to meet the needs of all students.
Mr. Karam, can you address the charter schools issue?
I think Dr. Harkins was right. The Kentucky General Assembly was very, and at the Kentucky Department of Education was very interested, as was the General Assembly, in the schools of innovation. And I would argue that under CARA itself, there was huge amount of flexibility. And you had schools taking advantage of the flexibility under CARA, and now with the schools of innovation, it adds another layer of opportunity for schools to come forward and be innovative. So I think Dr. Harkins has pointed that out very well.
Well, we thank you all for coming, and we thank the community support, and certainly we want to acknowledge Chair Porter, and again, Board Member Westland and Board Member Haddad for being here. Senator Karam, thank you very much. Mr. Allen, and of course Raul Cunningham is here, community leader from the NAACP, Audwin Helton, Mary Gwen Wheeler from the State Board of Education, and the leader of 55K. Thank you much all for being here. So thank you very much, and I know some people will be around for questions. But most importantly, since the students are the center of the universe, thank you to the 5th graders. at McFerrin for being a part of this.